Hey boys and girls, it's fourth grade Mrs. Meredith bringing you another children's museum story. So this is called Bucky the Dinosaur Cowboy. And it's about the Dinosphere Now You're in Their World exhibit at the Children's Museum. So Bucky the Dinosaur Cowboy. I know a lot of you like dinosaurs. You've told me that. You've showed me library books, things like that. So this was actually written by... Doesn't tell me who it was written by. I'll have to keep looking. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Bucky. That wasn't his real name, of course, but that's what everyone called him. Bucky lived on a ranch in South Dakota. Located in the western part of the United States, South Dakota is a state with hills and mountains and lots of rocks. On the ranch, there were horses and cows and all kinds of animals. But what Bucky liked best was that millions of years ago, dinosaurs roamed the same land where he and his family now lived. And Bucky loved dinosaurs. So here you can see the mountains and the rocky regions. And here he is. Instead of his shadow, you see the shadow of what he loves, dinosaurs. How do you suppose Bucky knew that dinosaurs lived on his ranch? Well, he knew that they once lived there because fossil bones of dinosaurs have been found very nearby. More than anything, Bucky wanted to find his very own dinosaur. This was his secret wish every time he blew out the candles on his birthday cake. One summer day, when Bucky was 9 years old, his wish came true when he found what everyone in his family thought was a T-Rex toe bone. He also found what he believed to be a dinosaur tooth. He was so excited. Can you imagine digging around in your backyard and finding a dinosaur bone or a dinosaur tooth? Soon after that, a famous scientist came to Bucky's town to give a speech about dinosaurs. Bucky took the bone and the tooth to show the scientist and to ask him if they really were dinosaur fossils. But when the speech was over, the scientist had no time for Bucky and his questions, so he brushed Bucky aside without even looking back and without even shaking his hand or looking at what he brought. Bucky was very disappointed. Bucky's dad had an idea. Bucky, let's go visit our good friends Pete and Neil. You know, they're paleontologists. I'm sure they can tell us if your bones are the real thing. So Bucky knew that a paleontologist was someone who studied dinosaur bones and fossils. Pete and Neil would surely know if Bucky had found real dinosaur bone and tooth. When Pete, Neil, and other paleontologists saw what Bucky had found, they were amazed. Bucky had indeed found a real dinosaur bone and dinosaur tooth. The paleontologists were extremely interested in the fossils Bucky had found because of their size. Not because they were so big, but because they were smaller than most T-Rex bones that had been found elsewhere. So they all piled into their trucks and headed for Bucky's ranch. The paleontologists were always on the hunt for new dinosaur sites to dig up and to study. So for the next few summers, the paleontologists came to Bucky's family farm, and they would dig up bones from dinosaurs from the area that Bucky had found his bone in. It takes a very long time to dig up an entire dinosaur. You have to be very careful. Bucky's dinosaur was very special because it was one of the first teenage T-Rexes ever found. Not a baby, not a grown-up, but a teenage dinosaur. In honor of Bucky's discovery, the paleontologists named the dinosaur Bucky also. You can see them carefully digging in the dirt, trying to find the way the bones lay. As the years passed, Bucky went to school. He played baseball, soccer, rode horses. He loved to ride horses. And in fact, when he grew up, Bucky became a rodeo cowboy because he loved to ride horses so much. He worked on the ranch, he rode in the rodeo, and he still hunted for dinosaur bones when he could find a little extra time. Over the years, lots and lots of Bucky's dinosaur bones had been found. In fact, so many had been found that a museum in the Midwestern part of the United States, in a state called Indiana, wanted to put Bucky the dinosaur on display. But there was just one problem. It was a really big problem. No one had ever been able to find Bucky the dinosaur's head. The museum, which was called the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, really wanted to show the bones of the teenage T-Rex skull, too. But there was no skull to be found anywhere. All the bones, missing the head. But there was an even more exciting find. Can you guess what it might be? Believe it or not, it was the wishbone. Just like what you might find in a chicken or a turkey. Scientists call this the furnicula, or the furcula, I apologize. The scientists called this the furcula. Now, why would this be an exciting find, do you think? Well, you might think that a skull would be much more interesting, but the furcula is especially important because it shows the connection between the dinosaurs then and the animals that live today. In fact, some of the paleontologists, it tells us, let me start that again. In fact, for some paleontologists, it tells us that dinosaurs are still alive today, only now we call them birds. And the wishbone they found was just like the wishbones found in the skeletons of birds today. Today, Bucky the cowboy lives on his own ranch with his wife and his daughter. Bucky continues to work the land and ride in rodeos. In his spare time, he still digs for dinosaurs, and he takes his little girl with him. Maybe one day she will find dinosaur bones, too. Bucky the teenage dinosaur now lives at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, where he or she, we don't know, sparks the imaginations of children every day. The paleontologists finally were able to recreate what Bucky's head probably would have looked like based on other T-Rex skulls that they had found. So Bucky the teenage dinosaur was finally complete. Bucky the cowboy's wish had come true. He had found his very own skeleton of a dinosaur, and that dinosaur was named Bucky. In the back, it's a glossary of all sorts of dinosaur terms, and then it shows you at the Children's Museum when they began building their Dinosphere exhibit, and many of you that have been there may have seen these dinosaurs on the outside, so that's what it started to look like. And then here's some pictures of some of the dinosaur bones. This is an actual picture of the real Bucky, the real cowboy who found the dinosaur bones. And this, finally, in the back, it tells us who wrote this book. Kay Cunningham wrote the book. She put a lot of this together, and then Mary Ann Wilson did many of the illustrations along with her husband, who's a sculptor, Brian Cooley. So this is a really good book, again, called Bucky, the Dinosaur Cowboy, and it's about the dinosaur fossils at the Children's Museum, and there's a picture, again, of the outside of the Children's Museum. Thanks, boys and girls. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope to see you soon.